Understanding the true meaning of life introduction, the Buddhist temple you see today is called the pre-heavenly holy temple, which differs from the temples and churches you might encounter outside. Pre-heavenly refers to that which exists before the creation of heaven and earth. Humans possess reason, which, in the heavenly context, is referred to as principle, while nature is attributed to humanity. The mandate of heaven is termed nature. Originally, when humans came into existence at the moment of conception, their nature was clear, pure, and devoid of evil. Strictly speaking, it is beyond good and evil. Nature belongs to the prenatal and is absolute. Good and evil are relative concepts arising from postnatal experiences. While many believers at outside temples seek blessings, longevity, and wealth, we must remember that riches do not simply fall from the sky. All blessings are rooted within ourselves. Therefore, seeking the path today means approaching holy teachers to awaken our wisdom and reclaim our hearts. Only then can we access a wealth that is inexhaustible and endless. Otherwise, how much wealth can the Buddha truly offer to all sentient beings? Today, when we seek guidance from the divine, we do so because we believe in their profound wisdom, which allows them to foresee and understand the intricate web of fate, offering us accurate guidance. If today you achieve great wisdom, you can take charge of your own life. Thus, what do we seek on this path? Ultimately, it is not about seeking. It is about accepting the grace of heaven. If we speak of seeking, it is to return to our true heart and nature, the three treasures of our true self. Chapter 1. The path is our true nature, the heart method passed down through the saints. The Buddha said, "How wondrous! How wondrous! All sentient beings possess the virtues of the Tathagata, yet due to afflictions and illusions, they cannot realize them. Thus, we are obstructed by ignorance, delusion, and attachment, making it difficult to comprehend the true meaning of life and preventing the opening of our wisdom. Therefore, we must diligently practice, cultivate our hearts, and adhere to propriety." Ancient practitioners engaged in rigorous training, yet many did not have the opportunity to meet the divinely authorized teachers who could guide them. For a long time, we have been using our minds without understanding, continuously trapped in the cycle of rebirth, making it challenging to gain the wisdom needed for our actions. It is said that there are three significant barriers that are hard to overcome: the allure of beauty, the pursuit of fame and profit, and the contemplation of life and death. From a secular perspective, being positive and optimistic often equates to being eager to chase after fame and wealth. However, those on the spiritual path believe that true positivity and optimism lie in dedicating oneself to performing good deeds and cultivating virtue. Throughout history, what remains in our hearts are either the grand figures of wealth and power or the sages and virtuous individuals who have achieved great deeds. Wealth and fame are ultimately tangible and will eventually fade away, while virtue is intangible and can persist in the world. Because it is formless, it can remain with us always. In the end, we cannot take material possessions with us. Only our karma follows us. Thus, seeking the path is the first step toward not falling into despair or descending into the evil paths. Death, without a doubt, signifies the separation of the true self or spiritual essence from the false self or the physical body. At that moment, the spirit transforms into pure wind while the flesh returns to dust. Only the spirit exists forever, neither born nor perished, neither pure nor impure, neither increased nor decreased. It is no wonder that the scriptures say, "When the nature exists, the body and mind are present. When the nature departs, the body and mind decay." In Taiwan, it is said that when someone passes away, they have crossed over, which is not without reason and can serve as proof. Some believe that young people should not pursue the spiritual path, fearing that doing so will lead to negativity and pessimism. They insist that it's better to wait until old age to practice. However, no one can predict when the separation of spirit and body will occur. As the sages have said, "I did not wish to be born, yet I suddenly found myself in this world. I did not wish to die, yet suddenly my time came." Everyone knows that a coffin is for the dead, not the elderly. A young person who takes their last breath will still end up in a coffin. Therefore, do not wait until old age to learn the way. Many graves are occupied by the young. In the past, there were 3 old men who gathered together, sharing wine and conversation. Halfway through the feast, one elder sighed and remarked, "This year we drink together. Who will be here next year? And who will be gone?" The second elder replied, "Why think so far ahead? I worry about whether I will put on my shoes and socks tomorrow after taking them off tonight." The last elder chimed in, "I am even more concerned that after this breath goes out, the next one might not come back in." This illustrates the impermanence of life and the unpredictability of death. Why do people cling to life and fear death? I recall discussing this topic during a lecture when a student quickly responded, "People fear death because they are greedy for life." I said, "That's true." However, upon further exploration of the reasons behind humanity's fear of death, it can be summarized that the post-death realm is shrouded in uncertainty. Ordinary people are always apprehensive about matters they cannot control. Some say that having power and influence brings the greatest joy, but in reality, power and influence are as ephemeral as reflections in water or flowers in a mirror, difficult to maintain over time. As the sages have said, drawing water creates waves in vain. Although beautiful embroidery exists, it does not emit fragrance. Glory and wealth are like dew on flowers. Riches are akin to frost on grass. Consider the first emperor of the Qing dynasty, Emperor Xuanzhi. Despite his position as emperor, commanding millions and possessing power and influence with countless luxuries at his disposal, he realized the precariousness and illusion of power. This led him to aspire to renounce the throne and pursue a spiritual path. In his poem upon leaving, he wrote, "Confused in coming, lost in going, I merely wander through this world. Who was I before I was born? After birth, who am I? Only upon growing up do I know myself, but when I close my eyes, who am I again? It would be better not to come or go, free from troubles and sorrow." Similarly, figures like the Buddha and the ancient Bodhisattva Guanyin, both born into royal families, could have enjoyed all worldly pleasures but chose to forsake their royal status to pursue enlightenment. This dedication allowed them to be revered and worshipped for generations. Why do only the Buddha and Guanyin remain in our hearts despite the many princes and princesses throughout history? Through this exploration, we must ask, are the pleasures recognized by the secular world, wine, money, power, true joys? Can they be constant and eternal, unchanging? What are the inevitable sufferings one must endure in life? 1. The suffering of birth. Since we are born into this world, we have all experienced some degree of suffering. However, if you are still young, you might hear the phrase, "The young do not know the taste of sorrow." They forcefully speak of it. Let us set aside our own experiences of pain for a moment and consider Zhang Liang, one of the 3 heroes of the early Han Dynasty. He clearly understood the suffering of life and lamented, "Being a person is difficult. It is hard to be human." Thus, he resolutely committed himself to the spiritual path. He once remarked, "Those who speak too much are resented. Those who speak little are seen as foolish. The rich face jealousy, and the poor face disdain. It all aligns with the natural order. The green mountains do not concern themselves with worldly affairs, and the flowing waters cannot cleanse disputes." Zifeng finds peace in detachment, shaking his head and saying he knows nothing. This shows that in life, whether we speak much or little, do good or evil, or whether we are rich or poor, none of it guarantees satisfaction. Why do the green mountains remain evergreen? Because they do not interfere with human matters. Why do our hairs turn gray? Because we are overly involved in the world's affairs. The sages also remind us, nature is bestowed by heaven. We are born into flesh and bones, caught between yin and yang, unable to escape the cycle of heat and cold. Time rushes on. Our lives swiftly pass. The flesh grows strong, and we seek clothing, wealth, and sustenance, laboring through the world filled with bitterness. They further illustrate, the living are human, the dead are ghosts. Stinking corpses are buried in piles of dirt. Who can buy back their lives with gold and silver? The tears of the departed fall empty in the underworld. 3. The suffering of old age. Perhaps we find it harder to grasp, but by observing our grandparents, we can somewhat imagine the experience. We know well the story of Hanyu's memorial for his deceased son, where he lamented at under 40 years of age, sighing at his blurred vision and graying hair. If that is the case, can we expect to enjoy travel and adventure in our old age? It's unlikely because of blurred vision. Beyond a certain beauty in the haze, one can no longer see clearly. Do you think that in old age, you can indulge in a hearty meal? Not likely. Your teeth may loosen. Hence the saying, at 70, one should not stay overnight. At 80, one should not share a meal. By the age of 70, if you wish to spend the night at someone's home, they will think long and hard about whether to agree. At 80, if you hope to have a meal at their place, they will again ponder carefully, wondering what if, or just in case. When a person reaches old age, it is indeed a desolate experience. The sages also say, having traveled the world, one knows the sweet and sour of life intimately. The wisdom gained in youth is often given away. Like water splashing down or clouds floating by, beauty fades, features wither, and bodies grow frail. Regardless of where one goes, it is never as good as it was. They also state, old age brings a decline in vitality and strength. One must reflect swiftly and regretfully on the past. Were there any grievances in the years gone by? From now on, let us begin anew. 5. The suffering of illness. Even if we don't often suffer from major illnesses, we inevitably experience minor ailments, making it easy to imagine some of the pain involved. The saying goes, flowers do not bloom for 100 days, and people do not enjoy good fortune for 1,000 days. When a person falls ill, all their ambitions, ideals, and hopes seem to vanish, turning into mere illusions. Those who have been hospitalized or undergone surgery likely have a deeper understanding of the suffering that comes with illness. It's no wonder that Zhang Fei once said, I fear not death, but rather the torment of illness. The sages remind us, when the 4 elements of the body are out of balance, I become the master of my own suffering. Over time, after facing storms and hardships, one's essence and vitality wane, and the spirit becomes confused, making it hard to distinguish between the colors of life. One remains confined at home, watching time pass, unable to articulate the pain of body and mind. 7. The suffering of death. The finality of death, which cannot be reversed, represents one of life's greatest tragedies, leaving all hopes and dreams in ashes. The sages have pointed out, as one nears death, tears fall like pearls. Everything transforms into nothingness, severing emotional ties 1,000 miles away. This parting lasts through the ages. With a fading breath, one leaves the mortal world, becoming a lonely soul in the afterlife, yearning for home, separated by just a thin veil, gazing at a desolate graveyard. They also express, life and death are an eternal cycle, perpetuated by ignorance and attachment, lust for wealth and desire for pleasure, making oneself a prisoner of one's own burdens, forgetting the way back home. In life, if one solely pursues indulgences, wine, lust, wealth, and pleasures, immersed in greed, anger, and ignorance, failing to see through and let go, one will inevitably be trapped by these transient delights, becoming a captive without escape. Conversely, when one learns to let go, sees clearly, and understands deeply, one becomes free and unburdened. 9. The suffering of unfulfilled desires. In this world, things rarely go as one wishes. In fact, they do not align 9 times out of 10. Every household has its difficult scriptures to read. Unfulfilled ambitions often lead to early death, causing heroes to weep. All of these sayings warn us that it is difficult to expect everything in life to go smoothly and according to our desires. The sages have also stated, the suffering of unfulfilled desires makes the heart feel lost and bewildered. It's not that heaven is unkind, but rather that what the heart yearns for may not be destined. This shows that what is meant to be will eventually come. What is not meant to be cannot be forced. To force what is unattainable is ultimately futile, wasting energy and yielding no benefit. The suffering of love and separation, the pain of life separations, whether through birth or death, is profound. How pitiful are the bones by the uncharted river, still longing for the ones from dreams of spring. In such moments, how can one endure? I still remember when I used to sing family songs without a care, not realizing that my parents had left me. Now, every time I sing those lines, everyone has a father, yet I alone have none. Everyone has a mother, yet I alone have none. Sadness wells up, and tears flow uncontrollably. I urge everyone, while your parents are still alive, cherish this time. Provide for them while time is fleeting. Do not fall into the regret of the tree wishes to be still, but the wind does not cease. The child wishes to care for the parents, but they do not wait. This is one of life's greatest tragedies. The sages have said, the pain of living apart and the sorrow of death are truly heart-wrenching. How much love and how many tears there are. Without attachment and desire, one might find joy and freedom. 11. The suffering of encountering hatred and resentment. Separation is certainly not what anyone desires, so how wonderful it would be if we could all gather together every day. However, what if enemies cross paths? When foes meet, tempers flare. Imagine having to think of things you don't want to think about, say things you'd rather not say, and see people you wish to avoid. This is especially true for couples who spend every day together. When they clash, the pain is immense. No wonder the sages have said, the suffering of encountering hatred is unique. Couples in conflict suffer the most, each looking for faults in the other, causing daily arguments and turmoil. Clearly, relationships, whether good or bad, are fated, and family bonds come with debts that must be settled. 12. The suffering of the five aggregates. The five aggregates consist of form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Form is a source of attachment. If one encounters phenomena without attachment or clinging, then the aggregate of form becomes empty. Feeling is the reception of experiences. If the mind does not grasp any sensory experiences, then the aggregate of feeling becomes empty. Perception involves thoughts and considerations. If one can let go of the past, not dwell on the future, and remain present, then the aggregate of perception becomes empty. Mental formations refer to the constant flow of thoughts. If the mind remains undistracted and unaffected by external influences, then the aggregate of mental formations becomes empty. Consciousness involves distinguishing relationships and clinging to phenomena. If one perceives everything without discrimination, seeing all as equal, then the aggregate of consciousness becomes empty. For example, if I work as a bank teller and handle vast amounts of money daily, yet my salary remains modest, if I maintain integrity, that money does not become an attachment. Thus, Laozi said, the greatest misfortune is desire. The greatest calamity is not knowing contentment. If I desire to possess that money, I might resort to theft or deceit. If caught, my reputation is ruined. If I escape detection, I would live in fear, eventually facing consequences. Hence, the sages have remarked, the suffering of the five aggregates arises from greed. Indulging in luxury is never enough, and unchecked desires lead to downfall. This is what Buddhism refers to as the 8 sufferings. Anyone who completes the journey of life must face these sufferings, which is why they are termed inevitable sufferings. Additionally, events like earthquakes can destroy a lifetime of work in an instant. Floods can wash away fertile lands. Fires can consume vast wealth. And imprisonment can waste precious time, along with frequent accidents. All of these fall under unexpected sufferings. Life indeed is a sea of suffering. This explains why the ancient Persian king sought to understand the nature of life, and while scholars' answers fell short, a sage proclaimed, life is suffering, and death is suffering. Suffering acts as the bridge between life and death. The poetry of the Xuanji emperor also conveys, it's better not to come or go. There's only suffering and sorrow in the cycle of arrival and departure. So, Does life hold any joy? Certainly. Evil is inescapable. Good brings the greatest joy. Joy is like perfume. When you sprinkle it on others, you'll catch a few drops for yourself as well. Unlike other things that diminish when given away, the more joy you share, the more you gain. The principle of letting go is crucial. By relinquishing the tangible, time, energy, and wealth, you gain the intangible, spiritual joy, fulfillment, and happiness. Therefore, we must learn to give of ourselves. The more we give, the more we receive. Each of us is like a well, constantly drawing water, yet remaining full. Conversely, if we do not draw, the water becomes stale. Today, everyone has received Tao and 3 treasures. However, the treasures we have obtained are not as simple as those we can see, touch, or hear. They are not tangible objects in this world. Instead, what you see cannot save your life. Our 3 treasures not only help us evade calamities, but also serve as a precious path to Buddhahood and enlightenment. With these treasures, we can return to the realm of truth and become part of Maitreya's family, transforming each home into a Maitreya home. By utilizing our intrinsic 3 treasures, we can exhibit a gentle heart, a grateful heart, a pure heart, an equal heart, a respectful heart, a compassionate heart, and an inclusive heart. Thus, our 3 treasures are a supreme method that allows us to realize our true nature, a teaching passed down through generations by the sages. Moreover, the fact that everyone can gather for this Dharma assembly today indicates that we are truly rooted in profound heritage and virtue from our ancestors. We know that during his lifetime, Shakyamuni Buddha taught for 49 years and held 16 Dharma assemblies, each lasting 2 to 3 months, where attendees had to purify themselves through fasting and bathing. The Diamond Sutra that we read was recorded by the Venerable Ananda during the Buddha's 7th assembly. Is the Diamond Sutra difficult? It is meant for bodhisattvas. Therefore, esteemed practitioners, you all possess the roots of bodhisattvas, and you are even more capable than those who practiced in the past, as they would hold assemblies for over 2 months, while you can complete your training here in less than 2 days. So, what are the 3 treasures? We often say that the heavens have 3 treasures: the sun, the moon, and the stars. The earth has 3 treasures: water, fire, and wind, and humans have 3 treasures: essence, energy, and spirit. The treasures of Tao are heavenly gate, holy password, and seals. Without these 3 treasures, the heavens would become dark and unclear, the earth would be unable to support life, and without essence, energy, and spirit, our bodies would be hard to sustain. Furthermore, without the 3 treasures of the way, we cannot return home and will be forever wandering in the sea of suffering, losing the true path. Therefore, it is crucial to understand the importance of the 3 treasures. I will briefly introduce what these 3 treasures are. They are the mystical gateway, the key phrases, and the agreement. These are the credentials for our return to the realm of truth. The mystical gateway, as the name implies, is a profound portal for returning to the essence of life and spirituality, which we refer to as the Tongtan Chao, the gateway to heaven. It is the portal through which our spirit enters and exits. Do you remember where this mystical gateway is? It is right here. In Japanese, Shenguan Xuanguan means the main entrance. We all know that humans are composed of both body and spirit. We often think that our life is given to us by our mothers, which is true in one sense. However, there is a deeper meaning. We all possess a spirit that originates from the heavens. Even if our physical bodies deteriorate and our lives end after 100 years, our spirit is eternal. So, where does this spirit come from, and where does it go? In the Gospel of John, Jesus tells a friend named Nicodemus that while our bodies are born from our parents, our souls come from a greater source. He explains that we can feel the presence of the wind, yet we cannot know where it comes from. Many of you present today understand that the Spirit exists, but most people do not realize where it originates or where it will go in the future. This is why Jesus emphasizes this point in the Gospel. Today, we are very fortunate to receive guidance from a divinely appointed teacher who can unlock the keys to our lives. In the past, practitioners struggled for years without grasping this key insight. Even if they were lucky enough to learn about it, without a divinely appointed teacher to open the door, they could not escape the cycle of birth and death. It's similar to a smartphone. We might know there is a power button, but we need someone to turn it on for us. Before we received Tao, we first didn't know where the switch was and second, didn't know how to turn it on. Our divinely appointed teacher reveals these profound truths to us, which is truly exceptional. This portal is where the Spirit enters and exits, where humanity connects with the heavens, and where the Spirit resides, governing all our senses. Now, let's take a look at this diagram. We often say that a person has an impressive appearance, a refined face, and well-defined features. So, what are the five senses? They are the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and there's another feature. What is it? Is it the eyebrows? Do eyebrows have a function? Actually, it is this gateway we call the Xian Guan Qiao, also known as the guardian of longevity. The eyes serve as the monitoring officer, the ears as the listening officer, the nose as the discerning officer, and the mouth as the officer of input and output, each with its own function. This actually signifies where the heart resides. We often talk about using our hearts. So, where is the heart? When we concentrate, we often furrow our brows. We wouldn't usually clutch our hearts, would we? You may remember from the TV show The Blue Spider Web, the characterly team leader often furrowed his brow when he sensed something was off. In Buddhism, we are frequently advised to observe with our eyes, nose, and heart. So, where is the heart? We also often mention Bitsu, which means the original ancestor. Why is it related to the nose? Because during conception, the nose is one of the first features to form, hinting that the key to life begins here. If you observe many depictions of saints, you'll notice they often have halos. But a halo must have a light source, right? For instance, on Avalokiteshvara's forehead, there is also a placed very deliberately because the secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. This gives us a significant hint. You also possess light. Can you see it? In the past, when our predecessors were pioneering abroad, foreign nuns could see this light. Once, a nun excitedly embraced our elder, exclaiming that she usually only saw halos behind saints in murals and had never seen a real person with a halo. This illustrates the preciousness and uniqueness of the path we seek. Thus, our spirit emanates light from within, just as a lamp radiates brightness. We possess Buddha light. If we cultivate this light well, it will grow rounder and larger. The Xian Guan Qiao is the portal through which the spirit enters and exits. It connects heaven and humanity and is the dwelling place of the spirit, governing all our senses. Confucianism says, the land of ultimate goodness is where nature leads. Buddhism calls it the treasure of the true Dharma, the wonderful heart of nirvana. Taoism refers to it as the mysterious gate, the root of heaven and earth. Once you attain this gateway, you can transcend life and death, escaping the suffering of the 6 realms of reincarnation. The Buddhist scriptures state, one finger can transcend the 3 realms. One point can escape the 10 Yama lords. The eyes serve as the monitoring officer, the ears as the listening officer, the nose as the discerning officer, and the mouth as the officer of input and output. Bodhi nature is inherently pure. Just use this heart to attain Buddhahood. A wise teacher's guidance aligns the heart, bringing all diverse thoughts back to a single heart. With a teacher's touch, the heart lamp is lit, and the heart shines bright. The sages of the 5 teachings all validate the Xian Guan Qiao. Buddhism states, the Buddha is not far from the spiritual mountain. The spiritual mountain is right in your heart. Everyone has a spiritual mountain stupa. It's best to cultivate beneath this stupa. So, where is the spiritual mountain? It's right here in the heart. Thus, the Buddha resides within us. Shakyamuni Buddha taught us that all beings inherently possess the virtues of the Tathagata, and ultimately, all beings can attain Buddhahood. Therefore, if we diligently cultivate and gradually reveal this Buddha nature, we too can be like the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. A well-known example is when Shakyamuni Buddha once raised a flower during a gathering on the spiritual mountain, but no disciple understood his meaning except for Mahakassapa, who smiled slightly. This is known as heart-to-heart transmission, the so-called subtle path. Thus, Shakyamuni Buddha stated, "I have the treasure of the true law, the wonderful heart of nirvana, the reality that is formless, the subtle path that does not rely on words, a transmission outside the scriptures, entrusted to Mahakassapa." The Tao Te Ching, Chapter 6 says, "The valley's spirit never dies. This is called the mysterious female. The gate of the mysterious female is called the root of heaven and earth. It exists perpetually, and its usefulness is limitless." The valley spirit symbolizes the profound essence of this guiding finger, representing the mysterious source from which all things arise. The subtle gate of the mother is the root of heaven and earth's generation. It exists endlessly, with boundless effects. In this chapter, Laozi continues to elaborate on the characteristics of the Tao. He employs metaphors and substitutions, using valley to symbolize the Tao and our true nature, illustrating that the Tao is both emptiness and reality, employing spirit to convey the Tao's elusive nature, and likening the mysterious female gate to the source of all things. Laozi aims to demonstrate that the Tao's function is limitless. In terms of time, the Tao is eternal and enduring, while in terms of space, the Tao is omnipresent and infinite. The Tao nurtures all things in the universe, perpetually giving life. Confucius also stated, "To hear the Tao in the morning is enough to face death in the evening." The true meaning is to attain the Tao and achieve liberation. The word here implies understand. If one realizes the nature of life and death, comprehends impermanence, and sees through the illusions of the world in the morning, they can critically reassess their life by evening. Transitioning from confusion to enlightenment and walking the path of Amitabha or Bodhisattvas means that even if one were to die that night, there would be no regrets. Confucius also said, "Who can exit without passing through a door? Why not take the great Tao?" The door symbolizes the precious path of the Tao. Seeking the Tao means realizing that our true nature is aligned with the Buddha, and it allows us to cultivate the spirit of benevolence, which is a duty for all. If everyone possesses this awareness, they will naturally walk the right path. The 5-character mantra, the Tongtian spell, the secret phrase, and the timely command reflect the principles of the Tao. The Li Tian represents the essence of the Buddha, the primordial mother, the palace of the ultimate, which is the fundamental nature of the Tao. Qi Tian is the interplay of yin and yang, representing the realm of relative existence, and Xiang Tian signifies the world of forms and materiality. The microcosm encompasses Li, Qi, and Xiang, which originate from the Tao heart, human heart, and blood heart, respectively, distinguishing the foolish, wise, and sage. The foolish cling to forms, the wise understand Qi, and the sage comprehends Li. Li Tian is true emptiness, lacking form or color, sound or odor, merely a spiritual essence. When it is hidden, it is pure and subtle, silent and still, encompassing all. When revealed, it is supremely sacred and spiritual, responsive and all-encompassing. The terms absolute emptiness and spiritual subtlety indicate a state of pure, extraordinary essence, while supreme sacredness and spiritual subtlety convey an unparalleled state of transcendence. Responsive and all-encompassing implies that there is a response to every feeling, and all matters are interconnected. Since human nature is inherently pure, sincerity reaches its goal. Once a feeling arises, all methods are present and comprehensible. Although it lacks form and color, it can give rise to all varieties. Although it has no sound or odor, it can govern all sounds and smells. Even though it is unseen and unheard, it encompasses all phenomena without missing anything. It does not birth itself, nor does it die or perish. It is eternally luminous and present, serving as the fundamental source of all beings. The concept of encompassing all phenomena implies compassion and care for all things, ensuring that nothing is overlooked. Luminous suggests divine brilliance. Both gases and solids cannot escape its influence. As all things exist, it exists. When all things perish, it still endures. The Heart Sutra states, "Neither defiled nor pure, neither increased nor decreased," meaning its essence is thus described. The form of the formless is the real form. The essence of the formless is the real essence. Neither defiled nor pure signifies that Li Tian is true emptiness, a mass of golden light, exhibiting perfect tranquility and purity, without distinction between defilement and purity. The form of the formless refers to the true form, Li Tian, the Tao, the spiritual essence. The essence of the formless denotes the true essence, Li Tian, the Tao, the spiritual essence. In the Tian Fo Yuan Travel Notes, the teacher discusses the universe as composed of the three realms of Li, Qi, and Xiang. The compassionate teacher explains that the genuine transmission of the three treasures encapsulates the essence of myriad scriptures, threading together Li, Qi, and Xiang. One unique aspect of the heavenly Tao is that one must first receive teachings before engaging in practice. The transmission of the three treasures' heart methods, Li and Qi, serves as the structure of the teachings. Li is static and unchanging. Qi is dynamic and ever-changing. Xiang arises from the interaction of Li and Qi. Qi Tian, the gaseous realm in the universe, is commonly referred to as heaven. Gases are light and clear, while the earth is heavy and turbid. Lightness and clarity belong to Yang, while heaviness and turbidity belong to Yin. Thus, the interplay of Yin and Yang is termed Qian Kuan. Qian represents heaven, and Kuan represents earth. When we say heaven and earth, we refer to Qi Tian. Without this heaven, the earth cannot support life, nor can people thrive. The sun, moon, and stars cannot hang in the sky, and all visible entities cannot exist. Therefore, its function involves circulation, elevation, and the silent regulation of seasons, nurturing all things. The phrases circulation and elevation refer to the cyclical nature and movement of energies. Elevation signifies the emergence of Yang, while descent indicates the emergence of Yin. The phrase secretly operating the four seasons describes how the changes of spring, summer, autumn, and winter occur silently and without fanfare. The Tao Te Ching states, "Man follows the earth follows heaven, heaven follows the Tao, and the Tao follows nature." The realm of Xiang Tian encompasses all visible and tangible forms. This includes the celestial bodies such as the sun, moon, and stars, as well as terrestrial features like mountains, rivers, plants, and minerals. In other words, everything that is form, whether sentient or insentient, belongs to Xiang Tian. Sentient beings are those with consciousness and emotional capacities, such as animals and humans. Insentient beings include plants, earth, stones, and other non-conscious entities. In summary, Li represents the essence of the primordial mother of the Buddha. Qi refers to the interplay of Yin and Yang, and Xiang pertains to forms and appearances. During the process of creation, Li gives rise to Qi, which in turn gives rise to Xiang. Conversely, in destruction, forms deteriorate quickly, followed by Qi, while Li remains unchanged. The Buddha, body, and nature of the primordial mother are intertwined, representing the inherent essence of all. The unity of heaven and earth unfolds in 6 stages of creation and dissolution. The Z phase represents the beginning of creation, while Wu signifies the completion of the process. The Z phase is akin to midnight, marking the onset of creation, while Wu is like noon, symbolizing completion. From Z to C, We move from non-existence to existence, transitioning from Li to Qi and then to Xiang, illustrating how diversity emerges from unity. From Wu to Hai, we return from existence to non-existence, transitioning from Xiang back to Qi and then to Li, reflecting how all forms converge back into the one source. The Wu phase is crucial, as it marks a significant transformation in the flow of energy, encapsulating the creation of earthly civilization. In the Zi phase, heaven is opened. In the Chou phase, the earth is established. In the Yin phase, humanity is born. The primordial essence descends into the world from the realm of Li Tian. Thus, during the Wu phase, the process of returning to one's original nature begins. Yiguan Tanyuan states that the nature of heaven, earth, and humanity originates from the Zi phase entering Li, the Chou phase entering Qi, and the Yin phase entering Xiang, encompassing all phenomena. The transmission of the Tao occurs during the Wu phase, symbolizing the gradual return from existence to non-existence. Therefore, through understanding forms, we can comprehend the energy. Through energy, we return to the essence. This reflects the union of humanity with the divine and represents the stages of attainment within the sacred realm. The inherent nature of humanity originates from the primordial realm of Li Tian. When one enters Li, they may become constrained by the attributes of Qi. If they enter Xiang, they become obscured by material desires, losing their way and their true nature. The opening and closing of heaven are matters concerning the divine. Throughout history, sages, following the will of the divine, descended into the world, establishing various teachings to guide the ignorant. Confucius advocated self-discipline and returning to propriety. Laozi taught returning to the root and restoring life, and Shakyamuni Buddha emphasized detaching from all forms to understand true reality. Laozi said, "The great Tao is formless." Confucius stated, "Heaven bears all, yet is silent and odorless." And Buddha remarked, "All forms are illusory." Ultimately, these teachings guide people to return from forms to energy and from energy back to essence. For example, at the moment of death, one first experiences the dimming of senses, followed by the loss of physical ability, leading ultimately to the cessation of breath. The true essence of the spirit then enters the cycle of reincarnation. Thus, to escape this cycle, one must cultivate the Tao. Confucius said, "To hear the Tao in the morning is enough to face death in the evening," implying liberation from reincarnation and understanding life and death. The closing lines state, "In the end, what is left unsaid is conveyed here. A wise person shares their understanding of the path home, witnessing the cycle of birth and death before them." Maitreya, the founder, embodies a common man's body, remaining untainted by attachments, not practicing meditation, yet not escaping from afflictions. Finally, we come to the concept of Hatong, which signifies unity and is a seal of returning to heaven. As stated in the Gospel of Matthew, "I truly tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. The third treasure, the seal, also known as Hitong, or Tong Tianin. What is Hitong? It's similar to signing a contract when doing business. In cultivation, there is also a Hitong, like making a pact with heaven, serving as proof of our return to the heavenly principles. When we first sought the way, the transmission master asked the protector master to guide us in the Hitong. We all then performed it together. The right thumb presses on the base of the right ring finger, and the left thumb presses on the base of the right little finger. The left hand holds the right hand and places them in front of the chest, with no gaps between the fingers. What special meaning does this gesture have? Have you ever seen fortune tellers in TV dramas who say, "Let me calculate with my fingers"? So, how do they calculate? Let's stretch out our right hands and count along, starting from the 12 earthly branches: Zi, Chou, Yin, Mao, Chun, Si, Wu, Wei, Shun Yu, Su, Hai. Just so, Hitong is aligned with Zi and Hai. Zi and Hai together form the character for child. When we think of a child, what comes to mind? the heart of a newborn. A child is innocent and adorable, without distinctions or biases. This represents our true spiritual nature, reminding us to always maintain a pure, childlike heart. In the Bible, Matthew 18 verse 3 says, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." When we count from Z to high, we are covering the 12 hours of a day. Z marks the start of the day, and high marks the end. This also reminds us that cultivation should never stray from the way, with both a beginning and an end. Conclusion: benefits of seeking the way. Now that everyone has sought the way and received the 3 treasures, what are the benefits? 1. Transcending life and death. During the process of seeking the way, a document called the Dragon Heaven Tablet was burned. This tablet contains your name and contribution, and when it is burned, the ritual master recites, the tablet ascends to heaven, registered on the heavenly list, and the underworld pulls the register. From now on, your name is registered with the 3 officials, and you are no longer under the control of the 10 Yama kings. After seeking the way and receiving the 3 treasures, your name is no longer on the death register of the Yama king, but has been registered with the 3 officials. As long as you follow the way with sincere practice, you will transcend life and death and will no longer suffer from the cycle of reincarnation. When ordinary people pass away, their bodies stiffen. In ancient times, true practitioners who had accumulated merit and virtue and who had followed the way would experience a soft body after death, like cotton, with no stiffness in winter and no decay in summer. Their face would remain unchanged, as if they were merely asleep. The immortals and Buddhas have compassionately said that, after seeking the way, as long as one does not go against the way or lose their virtue, after 100 years, their body can remain as soft as cotton. 2. Avoiding calamities and disasters. As the saying goes, heaven has unpredictable changes, and people have sudden fortunes and misfortunes. We never know if tomorrow will come first, or if impermanence will come first. When we encounter calamities or disasters, sincerely using the 3 treasures will invite the help of immortals and Buddhas to transform calamities into blessings, turning major problems into small ones, and minor problems into non-issues. This is the proof of the respect that heaven has for the way. How to use the 3 treasures now. Let's all hold the He Tong position. Close your eyes 80% and leave 20% open. Relax your body and focus your mind on the Xianguan. In your mind, silently recite the 5-character mantra 3 to 5 times. Reciting the 5-character mantra is like sending a signal to heaven for help, and when heaven senses it, it will come to assist in resolving the situation. In daily life, we can also use the 3 treasures often to calm our hearts, stabilize our scattered thoughts, and improve our focus and efficiency. Heavenly secrets should not be revealed. There are a few things to remind everyone. After today's initiation into the way and receiving the 3 treasures, they are heavenly secrets and should not be casually disclosed. After leaving the temple, do not tell anyone, even close family and friends. If they are curious, you can bring them to the temple to seek the way and light a lamp for them, so they too can receive the 3 treasures. Of course, the 3 treasures should not be recorded in any form, only kept in the heart. Some of you may wonder, what if I forget the 3 treasures? In that case, you can return to the temple, light a lamp, ask the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas for protection, and ask the temple's instructors to help review the teachings with you. 1 day of vegetarian diet today. As we seek the way, we should observe a vegetarian diet for 1 day as a sign of our sincerity and respect. Just like the ancient emperors who would fast and bathe before offering sacrifices to heaven and earth, we observe this day of vegetarianism to align our body, mind, and spirit more closely with the immortals and Buddhas. Merit contributions. Before seeking the way, you made a contribution. This contribution goes toward printing and distributing virtuous books and performing meritorious deeds. It does not go into the pockets of the instructors or volunteers present here. These volunteers come to the temple out of a genuine desire to learn the way and serve, not for profit. Final words. Finally, I would like to congratulate everyone once again for receiving the Noble Way today. Seeking the way is just the beginning of the spiritual journey. As the saying goes, the teacher leads you to the door, but the cultivation depends on the individual. There are still many truths waiting for us to explore. In the future, please come back to the temple to continue your studies, reflect, and improve yourself. We will have a 2-day advanced class in AT, with different instructors presenting many interesting courses and offering deeper insights into the way. Everyone is welcome to join. Now, I will distribute your way-seeking cards, which contain your registration details. Please keep them safe. You only need to seek the way once in your lifetime. If anyone later asks you to accompany them to the temple to seek the way again, you can simply show them your card to prove that you have already sought the way and don't need to repeat it. That's all for my sharing. If there are any shortcomings, I ask the immortals and Buddhas to forgive my mistakes. Please allow the instructors and masters to make any necessary additions, and I appreciate everyone's understanding. Thank you to the instructors. Thank you to all of you.